Hey, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Josh, and this is Alex.
Hey, guys.
And we just finished up an amazing experience at Joe Nall.
Yeah, that's actually the largest RC flying event in the world.
400 acres of... It's a wonderland.
It's a life-changing experience.
It is.
To say the least.
And a matter of fact, last year when we went to Joe Nall, it was so impactful. I said, this year I want to bring my family and kids. So we loaded up the RV and drove just the same as before.
Yeah, so who was it? It was me, you, your bride, and two kids, Noah and Michael. And Dave Knopf, the camera guy.
And Neff Brothers RV, neffbrosrv.com. They hooked us up with the Murata again.
The Murata, yes.
And it was a fantastic trip. And
very nice ride.
Matter of fact, Flite Fest is coming up, and they want to give you guys a discount code. So if you go to Neffbros, Neffbros, RV.com, mention Flight Test for the year 2014. If you rent an RV, they'll give you a $75 gas card towards filling up that tank.
Which is useful because those things drink up the gas.
They're very thirsty. Yeah. But for traveling with 7 people. For traveling with 7 people,
believe it or not.
Pretty economical and a lot of fun. The kids had a blast the whole way down. And we drove through the night. What a great trip.
Yeah, which speaking of your family, Jen, I got to take my hat off to her. She was working hard all week long.
Yeah, she came down to run the store. A lot of people, when we went down last year, liked the fact that we brought products because they didn't have to buy shipping and we were able to sell a little bit cheaper. So we did the same this year, and Jen ran that, and she was a busy girl. What a great experience. And guys, I want to urge you, this is a place to bring your families. This is a place to camp out. They're constantly making it more and more comfortable. You got 6 flight lines, so no matter which aspect of the hobby you're into, whether it's helis, multi-rotors, electric,
pretty much everything.
Gassers,
control
3D,
line.
Control line.
It's all there.
Everything is there. So,
scale flight, sport flying, park flying.
It's actually based at a full-scale airstrip, too.
Yeah.
And the terrascaping, the elevations, the lakes, the paths.
Yeah, which, by the way, it's in South Carolina, here in the U.S.
Woodruff, South Carolina.
Yeah, so it was about, what, a 10-hour drive for us?
Yeah, just about 10 hours.
Took us a while to get down there. So we got there Wednesday, about midday Wednesday, and it was a zoo. I mean, the traffic, or foot traffic, golf cart traffic, there was all bike traffic, all kinds of traffic.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, we felt like when we pulled in this time, like we were pulling into a Friday or Saturday when things were at their prime.
It was pretty crazy.
Traffic everywhere. And boy, those people have their act together, don't they?
Yeah.
For signing us up. They have computer systems. They have their Wi-Fi set up so you have to look up an AMA number. And the hospitality was amazing.
Yeah, they have an army of volunteers, and they were all just so kind. Can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you.
Which actually, speaking of kindness, you actually got a chance to meet the owner. What was his name?
Pat Hartness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say enough kind. I want to be like Pat when I grow up. This gentleman has such a heart for people and such a heart for making an area where you can go and just completely get lost and make memories. And the thing that touched me the most is he has this beautiful hangar with these full-scale airplanes.
Yes.
He operates full-scale, and I'm going to mess up the name. It's a Spartan. It's a beautiful chrome airplane. This thing is just incredibly beautiful. And I heard him talking behind us, and I turned around and asked, are you the owner? And he was very quick to say, no, I'm not the owner. He's actually entrusted these 400-plus acres to a group of people to pursue and grow Joe Nall every year and make it a place that will always be surrounded by flight and families and making memories and kindness.
And actually, when we showed up, one of the first things we noticed is that the size, or you told me that the size, especially the electric flight line, it almost doubled in size?
Last year, we parked away from the actual main line up on the hill because that was the only spot of flat land we could find. Well, this year, they had RVs parked all the way from the electric flight line all the way up and past where we were. The electric line has more than doubled this year. Yeah. And what a great, and they're going to actually add on some land for camping. For next year.
And speaking of adding on land, that's one thing I can't stress enough is how massive the event is. It is just huge. Like the actual landscape itself is so big, you almost have to have some sort of transportation.
Very minimum a bicycle.
Yeah, and that would still be pushing it because it's pretty hilly. There's a big hill that you have to go up and down. Even our golf cart was struggling. Now there is a bus system actually too. They actually have full-size school buses. We took it one time.
As a matter of fact, the day we got there, we were met by great old friends like Bill Blair, Brian, just a lot of wonderful people we got to meet last year. They all came down.
Yeah, which we actually did an episode with Bill Blair a couple months ago on his scale helicopter.
His Hughes 500. Did I get it right?
Bill Blair from Whirlybird Videos.
Video, yeah.
So, and actually, he was kind enough. Him and his group. They were so hospitable, and they invited us up for dinner.
Yes.
And some of the best ribs everything that he cooks is the best thing I've ever had.
He can honestly open up a cooking show.
Yeah.
I mean, and his group of friends are just so hospitable, like you said.
Yeah, and just the sheer kindness.
Yes.
They're so humble, so welcoming. Yeah. Which actually, the heli line was probably the most sparse out of everything. There were actually a couple campsites. It was still really busy. But compared to the other Flite lines, there was a little bit of room for some camp spots.
Yeah, great food there, great fellowship, and then we went back and we started building.
Yes.
And that was a blast. One thing, and I'm starting. We've got to get it better. Get it more refined. But getting a fly battery with you guys is wonderful. But getting to sit with you for an hour and build planes and fellowship that way. I love it. Yeah. I love it more than flying, because flying has an end to it, where building can go on as long as people are willing to, deal with the daylight.
Which, speaking of building, one of the things that absolutely blew me away is how many flight test planes were all around. Golly. Everybody's been hard at work building over the winter, apparently.
A majority of these are scratch built, which is exactly what you want. If you do buy a speedboat kit, trace it out and have a pattern for later so you can scratch build. We want you to fall in love with that. And these people definitely took that to note. It wasn't just like if they had one or two flight test planes, they had like half the collection. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Which our neighbors right next door.
A wonderful family.
Yeah, which they had a whole tent full of flight test planes. Yes. Apparently they just built a P-51 the night before, staying up all night building the P-51.
And he did a phenomenal job. And Crafty Dan even stopped by too. He was in front of us. And there's also a big duster. A gentleman and his son had a 127% duster.
That was cool.
It was so slow.
Yeah.
It makes me want to make it bigger and make a new version. Maybe
and bright orange. That orange like glowed in the dark.
You didn't even need lights on it. The thing just illuminated itself. It was amazing. I think we need to do a bigger duster for planes too.
Yeah.
Because after seeing the bigger one, it was
floats.
amazing. Yes.
Let us know if it's something you guys want to see.
Let us know.
They had a big, huge FT3D.
Yeah. It was like he said it was like an extra, but it was like from the principles of the FT3D. But Dad actually said that the son called him and says, "Hey, I want to build this big plane." And the dad's like, "You're crazy, it'll never work." And he started working, and he worked, I think it was through the winter on it. And sure enough, the thing flew fantastic. So he actually did some flying for us, and then the dad pulled out his big prop and slot Dollar Tree foam board.
That thing was huge.
Jet. It was huge. It flew great.
Take it off. Then there was the one gentleman, I believe his name was Brian, but he had that awesome mini little Versa wing. He was flying that thing around. It was pretty quick with the lights inside of it, and it lit up so cool. And he was also explaining some of the great features on his Tyrannus radio. So after that, we kept building. Around 10 o'clock at night, unfortunately, the rain came.
The rain came down.
It rained all day Thursday. We got a lot of building done, a lot of fellowship. We got to meet a ton of great people. Yeah. And the coolest thing, that the event was so big that it was a constant flow of new people.
Yes.
A lot of times, like at Seth and stuff, we were hanging out with the same people
and
the whole time.
Awesome.
That was great.
Yeah.
But this time it was a little different because every couple minutes you'd see somebody new that you'd never seen before. So it was really good meeting everybody and getting the chance to fellowship and fly with you guys.
And it truly impacted us too, because at this place there's 1,001 things to do.
Yes.
The fact that you guys would take the time out of your day and all these other great things going around to find us and to say hi just meant a lot to us. So please, anytime you're in the area, we want to talk to you, we want to meet you, we want to shake your hand and thank you in person.
So once the rain cleared up,
about 4 o'clock,
we actually got a pretty good evening of flying. And
everyone had their batteries charged.
Yes.
Everyone had their planes ready. The
one gentleman had his he had a Carbon Cub
and a K8
glider, and he wanted to do a glider tow with you. And you're like, I don't have a glider. He's like, you can just fly my glider.
Yeah, and they didn't have the release mechanism, so what they did is they just screwed a hook kind of underneath the nose, close to where the release mechanism lets go. And it was a challenge. I don't know if it was the most successful, but we didn't crash anything.
Yeah. It wasn't very successful at all, actually, but it was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
And I was actually chasing him with the quad.
I'm surprised he didn't get tangled up. That was close.
Pretty close, yes.
Yeah, it was fun, and that Carbon Cub honestly could have just pulled it vertically. You know, he could have just pulled it up like a fish.
So then after that, I happened to notice Peter from Foam and Tape, which we've mentioned before. He was walking his huge plane, which I got to give him props because he walked all the way from the vendor's row, which is at the top of the hill, with this massive plane.
I don't know why he just didn't sit on it and ride it down.
Or fly it down. The thing was huge.
This plane has to be, 14, 15-foot wingspan?
Yes.
And Depron, craft paper, and I honestly would love to see if we could do an episode with him.
Yeah. Let us know if you want to see more on Peter's huge plane project.
He's a great guy.
I had the chance to fly around and chase him with the TBS Discovery, and man, that thing was awesome. Spectators over there, they're going to be watching me chase Peter's giant cargo plane. So the pressure's on here, Joe Nall, 2014.
So we crashed that night.
Yes.
And the next morning...
Went to sleep. We didn't actually crash Peter's plane.
No. Peter's plane is alive and well. But we woke up early in the morning, and it was beautiful.
Yes.
It was already starting to dry out. And
it was nice and cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't humid anymore.
We started this at Ceph, and unfortunately we started like midway through Ceph.
Yes.
But this time we want to take a unique plane that we're working on or something that we're in the process of and get an opportunity to get your guys' signatures on it.
It's a good way to remember the people, remember the event, remember the overall atmosphere of what went on in our trip.
Yeah, and you guys didn't disappoint. I think every square inch of this thing has writing on it somewhere. And thank you for that. All you guys are just absolutely wonderful. Your kids... what a blessing.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, a P82. We're working on a fun project with that. So maybe we'll have some free build plans and a video on this.
Let us know if it's something you want to see.
Yeah. So as we're building, getting to meet a lot of great people, a gentleman named Michael came along, and this was one of the coolest things. We got to see a contribution by one of the wonderful members of FliteTest.com on the article side.
Yeah, Flying
Penguin. And Michael was building it
was a Hellcat, wasn't it?
A Hellcat. This thing is a work of art.
Yeah, very cool build.
This is his first build that he ever did, too. And I looked at that, and it's a pretty intense build. It's every bit as much as a balsa wood plane. It has so many fine cuts that you had to have to make sure that the body was round, the wings had the right,
lots of angles, lots of gluing.
That was really cool that Michael was doing that. The thing that scared me at the end, though, is he wanted to maiden it, and he wanted me to give it a shot.
So how did it fly?
It flew amazing. I was scared to death. It was windy.
It was
very windy, and I wasn't sure. I never saw the build, portion of it, so I wasn't sure about CG or anything. He said it was good. We dialed in some expos, and he threw it. And the toss was a little rough, but the plane flew amazing, and it handled the wind incredible.
Looked great in the air.
Oh my goodness, Flying Penguin! Hats off to your design, and guys, please check out Flying Penguin's plans. They're phenomenal, and I'm so happy he used the swappable concept and took it to the next level. And congrats to you, man. But yeah, he did a great job on that. The plane flew great, and it was a really amazing experience.
So after a full day of building, we had a combat.
And originally the concept was to take Bloody Wonders with 100-foot long streamers and do ribbon cutting. At the end of the game, people with the most ribbon still flying wins.
We only had 2 rolls of streamers.
We only had 2 rolls of streamers, and the Precision guys, they got 2 Bloody Wonders built.
Yeah, they only had 2 planes built.
And
so we needed other people, and luckily there was tons of people there. The high-tech guys.
Oh my gosh!
High-tech guys showed up out of nowhere, like, hey, we heard there's going to be destruction.
Yes, I think they just sensed it.
Yeah.
Because also I see Mike Mayberry with the
they were all there.
Carried, just walking down, and so it was really cool. It was organically grown, but a lot of the great people we got to talk to and meet, they brought out their own planes, a lot of Bloody Wonders and swappables, and a lot lot of like strikers.
There's a striker. He took my streamer.
Yeah.
And actually, you and Mike Mayberry was one of the only. It was pretty uneventful. You two had one of the only collisions.
As far as combat goes, I would say it was a failure. It was definitely funny. I think
it was fun
to observe. There was not much carnage going on. The high tech guys had some major skills because Mike de-winged my Mustang.
Yes.
Like that. It was It was the only carnage in the whole combat.
The whole event, yeah.
So-
and actually, it just came down to whose battery lasted the longest.
Which was yours.
And somehow my P-51 just kept flying.
So it was, yeah, I know in the future, long streamers, a lot more people.
Yes.
And probably going after the streamers that are long would be better than trying to hit each other.
Yeah, and more Krakens.
More Krakens. Yeah, we got to have more Krakens. But the high-tech guys coming down and all the great community coming down throwing their planes, if it was just the PA versus flight test, it would have been like nothing.
It would have been over pretty
It would have been 5 planes, at the end of the day. But great experience with that. Mike is great. He came over and gave me a big old hug afterwards, and Jen thought that was kind of weird, that two people hit and then hug it out. But that's what you do in combat.
Yes.
And we had a great time. So they made that event phenomenal. So thank you PA, thank you High Tech, and thank you the community.
All the other people that were there were awesome too.
Yeah, a lot of great people.
Oh, speaking of which, I think Crafty Dan was in the combat as well as Phil.
He was. Yeah.
Phil we met him in Ceph.
He is one of the guys at Ceph that really makes the event special, and also his daughter Emma, who's going to be helping us out with Flight Fest.
He also makes really good coffee.
Afterwards,
actually, me and Dave had a chance to go up and check out the main line.
Oh yeah.
And it was really cool. We were only there for a little bit, but some beautiful planes. The main line, there's a lot of really really good entertainment going on up there, especially during the noontime demos.
The main line is where you want to go if you want to see true works of art, monstrous airplanes. Bill Hempel's half-scale Falker triplane.
The triplane, it was taller than me. It was massive.
I could put my son in it and fly him around if we wanted. And that was an ARF.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
Crazy.
And, of course, Mac Hodges is B-29.
Yeah, he was definitely there. The main flight line was definitely cool. It's not necessarily our place because
we specialize in $10 airplanes. And I think a wheel is more than $10 on these. Maybe the tail wheel is more than $10 on these.
Probably.
But spectacular, you got to walk that line because the people's talents and their kindness, everybody's friendly.
Yeah.
But we predominantly hung out on the electric line, and that evening, after our combat and everything.
Yeah, the high-tech guys were so great they invited us down for dinner. So it was a little bit early, so we wanted to do a little bit of flying. And I happened to notice on our golf cart ride that there was behind the 3D line, there's a whole new area that's like a park.
Yes.
And they actually had camping back there, but they cleared it out because they thought it was going to flood with all the rain.
Yes. Yeah.
Turns out it didn't flood. So now it was just a nice park area with no campers or anything.
Beautiful river. They had bridges.
Well, I noticed the woods was perfect for mini quad flying.
Yes.
So I wanted to go down there, and then eventually I was talking with Peter, talking with the high-tech guys, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to try to fly under the bridge because there's a bridge going over the little pond there." So we all went down there. We were doing some flying, and Brandon Chitty from High Tech.
Yes.
Phenomenal pilot. He was flying the new Pilatus, which is an awesome airplane, by the way.
And it's not new, just out new. It's like
a prototype.
So he was like, "Yeah, we got to try to keep this in one piece because there's really none others, and we have to ship it off to get a review from this person." I'm like, "And you guys are flying under a bridge that is maybe 4 foot tall and 12 foot wide."
Yeah, actually, it was
windy.
It was Sleepy Sea's Pilatus.
Was it?
That they gave him for a review, and then they asked to borrow it back so they could fly it under the bridge.
So it's gonna come back with some duct tape and some stuff on it.
Yeah, but luckily Brandon was such a good pilot that he went through there a couple times.
He did it in a crosswind. It was incredibly
extremely
gusty.
windy.
Yeah, very windy, and he did it in a crosswind, and this thing was hard. Matter of fact, I tried to do it with my little FT Flyer, and I thought I was going to make it, and I smacked right in the side of the bridge, and then rolled into the water.
Peter was down there flying with us too, under the bridge.
With his FPV system.
He had his FPV box as usual, and he was flying the same Trojan that I chased through the woods at Ceph.
And it was even more beat up.
It was still flying great though, and it was so windy. I mean, we almost called the whole thing off because it was so windy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm going to try," and he took off, and he did pretty good. He crashed a couple times.
Yeah.
But
one time he landed, he hit the bridge, and it went in the water, but it didn't sink enough to fry anything.
So he just took off.
He just took off again. And the best part, the footage in there, he's hitting these bumps, and the receiver's like, "Wah."
Yeah.
Everything is just, foam and tape is a good name for him.
Yes.
It was amazing.
And luckily they had their Barbie Power Wheel lawnmower engine vehicles to go recover their aircraft.
Yes, yeah, they were cruising around in those cruising style.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. You did great flying that quad through that area, and
oh yeah, it was a beautiful, perfect for mini quad flying. And next year when we go, or maybe even E-Week, we're going to be going back.
Yeah.
Do some more flying.
it was truly amazing how talented these guys are. And I want to take a moment to shout out to Andrew from the High Tech Group too. He impacted my kids greatly. Early that morning, he actually swung by and was hanging out with us. And Michael and Noah, my two boys, really love 3D aerobatics, but they don't know anything about it because, frankly, I don't fly 3D. Andrew was talking their ear off and inspiring them. Michael's now hovering and flying upside down. He practiced on the simulator like crazy. And he took an awesome little Edge 540 that Dan from Laser Toys gave him. Thank you, Dan, for that.
Yeah, he loved that thing.
He's hovering the thing now. And my kids are full-blown addicted to 3D aerobatics. And Andrew, you were a big part of that. So thank you for that. I think the 3D line is probably one of the most beautiful lines. That's what my wife, I asked her what was her favorite part about the whole entire trip. And she said it was going down to the 3D line because it had a little bit of everything. We brought the Icon, and the Pilatus was still in one piece.
Yes.
So we were flying the Icon and the Pilatus.
Over the little pond there. They have the best of all the worlds. They have a nice airstrip.
Yeah.
They have a pond.
Yeah.
They have the water.
They have a little boat to recover your plane when you land, but also the lake is fairly shallow there, so you can walk out and get it.
Yes.
It's strictly made so the guys can dunk their tails in it.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, and also because of the way the trees were laid out, it had the most sunlight for the longest part of the day.
Beautiful sunsets.
Yeah, every single night was an awesome sunset.
Yeah.
So you had the chance to fly the float planes with Brandon again.
Oh, Brandon's
and
great.
he was doing rolling Harriers with that Pilatus. He did a tail touch.
Yes.
And I was chasing you guys around with the quad.
He rolls once again the prototype Pilatus inverted, and here's Mike Mayberry next to him. Lower, lower, lower. I think Mike Mayberry's the instigator.
Yeah.
The group.
Yeah, well, he was watching through my goggles, watching me chase him. Yeah, he kept saying lower.
So finally he came along, and sure enough, boop, he just hit that tail beautifully, and the crowd erupted. Everyone had a great time, and the neatest thing about this place is everyone's encouraged.
Yes.
We had the PA guys next to the high-tech guys. They're all wonderful. They're all gentlemen. They're all kind to each other. The 3D Hobby Shop guys got to see Noel again. Just all the team pilots.
Joe Smith was flying.
Joe Smith. A matter of fact, one reason why going down when the sun starts setting to the 3D line is that's when usually you'll see Joe Smith.
Brandon Chitty, actually, he gave me the opportunity to fly with him and chase him around with his. You can't really tell on screen, but the thing was massive.
It's 100.
I think my mini quad would have fit in the cockpit without even touching the walls.
And he wasn't just like doing linear maneuvers where you could pull after him. He was doing rolling loops that were so tight it looked like it was a 3D foamy.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I don't know half the names of half these maneuvers that these amazing pilots were doing, but you really had to stay on your toes to follow him, and you did a great job.
It was pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
he told me that the prop alone cost like $100 and that kind of.
Yeah, after last year with the chip thing, I think you're a little more careful.
Yeah,
actually, that was a warning shot. But you guys went over the lake and everything.
Yeah. And speaking of the lake, there was one young gentleman who had that green plane that went down and felt terrible about it. But his brother ran off right away, got in the boat, and was out there getting it. And I got some cool footage of that.
You always see if there's going to be a wreck, it's going to be spectacular on the 3D line because they go so hard and so intense. They were doing knife edges, full throttle down the runway that were maybe 6 inches above the ground.
Sometimes even less than that. And they would do that over the water, too.
Yeah, just the reflection. And like you pointed out earlier in earlier videos, flying over the water is quite difficult because you can't really judge where you are. And they would get so low, and the second they're about to hit, they'd roll it inverted.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. And the night routines with their external lighting, Joe Smith with his the way he'd turn off his lights and turn on his lights.
Yeah, all the pilots that fly at night, they're pretty awesome.
And my apologies for not knowing all the different names, but trust me, there was more than just Joe and Brandon. There was a whole a squadron of amazing
lots of youngsters too.
Yes, they were so young, and that's where hats off once again to Pat Hartness and his team to making this an event where young kids can go up. They want that, they celebrate it, and they encourage young kids to fly, which at some events that scares people.
Yes.
And not this case. They want you up on the flight lines. If you crash, they'll help you pick up the pieces.
Yeah, we gush on the high-tech guys a lot, but it's just the whole atmosphere in general down there is awesome.
Yeah.
Getting to meet everybody, hang out with everyone. Everyone from the industry's there.
Yeah.
And it's a really great time.
This hobby truly, and I can say it without being apologetic, is filled with some of the most amazing people you'll ever meet.
Yes.
And these kind of events bring them out in force. So take time to go into different tents, sponsors tents, engage people, and learn their hearts, because they're not doing the hobby because it's just a job. Most of them are doing it because it's a passion of theirs.
So basically, all in all, if you haven't noticed yet, we really like Joe Nall.
Yeah, Joe Nall is
a great event. We would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not in the hobby. Actually, I think you were saying, Dave, you would like to just go there and just ride around in a go-kart or a golf cart and just see all the different sites. There's people everywhere. It's huge, so you can go exploring and check out different things.
There's things that we haven't even seen, like there's trails all through their woods for people that want to take a nice walk. once again, just go into the environment. They really look beyond the pilot. One guy described it really well. It's a social event that you sometimes fly at.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
and
a good way to put it.
There's planes always in the air because there's a sheer number of people, but you're not going to have a bad time if you don't get to fly or you don't bring a plane. You're going to love just walking around and being in that environment. So don't stress about that. If you're afraid of flying at these places, just come and observe. You'll be inspired, and next year you'll be flying.
So we want to thank you guys for watching. Every time you go to our store, buy a speed build kit, even just by watching our videos, you're really, truly helping us do what we do, and we can't stress enough how much we're thankful for that.
And one thing we're going to try to do better in the future is announce our times, our schedules, where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing at what times a lot better at these events.
Yeah. So coming up next on our current travel schedule is we're going to be in Europe.
Yes,
We're going to Switzerland. Actually,
is that what they call it?
Yeah, the European road trip, I think is what it's called, and it's going to be in France.
Yes.
There's details on FliteTest.com. But
Thank you, Immersion RC.
Yeah,
for making
thanks
that
to
happen.
Immersion RC, we're going to get the chance to meet our friends over in Europe, and
That's
I'm
gonna be
really
exciting.
looking forward to that. After that, we have Flight Fest 2014.
25th through the 27th.
24th through the 27th. We extended it.
Oh, that's right. The 24th through the 27th.
So Thursday to Sunday, it's going to be 4 days of awesomeness and flight fellowship.
And clunkiness.
Clunkiness
It's our first
too.
year.
Yeah. And then after that, we're going back to Triple Tree, where
Yes.
Joe Nall was for E-Week.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later.